Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 188 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Roy joined alongside Nathan Durek, as per usual, talking all things football. We're live on the Terminal City FC YouTube page and Area 51 Sports Network Twitter page. So it's summer officially now, and the Vancouver Whitecaps are in a funk, in a slump, if you whatever you ever want to call it. Just one win in all competitions this month, and last night a game where they didn't play badly per se, but they had moments where the fundamentals just slipped away.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. We kind of had a little bit of the Vanni Sartini of trying to fit players into the system rather than building the system around the players. For about 15 minutes on either side of the half, 15 minutes leading into it, 15 minutes after, the Whitecaps were out of sorts.
Yeah.
There were stretches outside of that where they weren't great either, but at least it was more of an equal battle. But they got outdone by a fantastic night from Milan.
Ilowski, yeah. 4
Milski,
goals.
4 goals. First ever hat trick by a San Diego player. And I think his hat trick, his first 3 goals were, I think, within 9 minutes of each other.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. And the Whitecaps had no answer for the connection between him and Dwyer. Dwyer.
Yeah, I think it goes to show how Dryer is one of the best players in MLS this season, and Ilowski is a breakout guy. But from the get-go, start wasn't that bad, just trouble connecting in the final third. Daniel Rios and Emmanuel Sabity, their touches were letting them down. Shots weren't that the greatest, but the floodgates opened right after Ilowski's first goal. A credit to Yohei Takaoka, by the way, in that first half for keeping it somewhat close. But that first goal off the rebound, nothing he could really do there. Defending,
you can't grab that ball. It was way too close and too hard of a shot.
Yeah, defenders were nowhere to be seen, however, and that pretty much sums up the goals conceded by the Whitecaps. Defenders were nowhere to be seen. The fullbacks, especially Ocampo and Johnson, were getting just exposed by Dryer, Ilowski, and the other attackers of San Diego. And it's just very uncharacteristic for Ranko Veselinovic and Tristan Blackman, who usually this season been a very formidable duo defensively, but this whole game was just uncharacteristic of the Whitecaps because they've been a solid defensive team all season and just look like the Whitecaps of old, of the early Vanni Sartini, Mark DeSantos days.
There was questions right from the beginning when you took a look at the lineup, and my big questions, I mentioned it online, was in the midfield.
Yes.
Priso, Kubas, Badwall, you can make work. At least how the lineup was presented to us had the definitive number 6 as Ralph Priso, with Kubas more box to box, Badwall license to go forward a little bit. Problem is Kubas is so used to being that guy. He's the defensive midfielder in this team. So anytime the ball was coming back, it was like he was trying to occupy the same patch of grass as Priso. They were almost standing on top of one another. There was a number of occasions where all 3 midfielders caught themselves working at defending on the same player, and they were all bunched within almost 2 meters of each other, leaving massive amounts of space.
That's another reason why San Diego scored 5 past the Whitecaps. So much space was given because Badwall, Kubas, and Priso were all on the same area of grass.
But it compounds as well because the defensive issues are exacerbated by the fact that the midfield in front of them isn't doing their job as well, right?
It's kind of questionable because Priso was in the 6, while Kubas was in the 8, while Badwall was more up front. What would have worked better is let Kubas and Priso stay back while Badwall mostly goes up front.
That's how I was initially talking about it too when we were talking in the booth, is just to have both of them as two, like almost like a double pivot. Let Badwall just go up, right? He can do that, especially if you're going to be playing Vite on the wing, which I get it. In this
They had
game,
no
you
choice.
don't have a lot of
Yeah.
options. 3 of your 4 main wingers are gone right now. So, and man, do we want to talk about Emmanuel Savi?
Both of us have questions about him, and they're not good questions. I barely noticed him last night, to be honest, except for that one flub chance in the second half.
I noticed him, but not in a way that I think would
That's good, right?
shine any good light. He
Uh,
can get into the box.
yeah,
He can get the ball. He can get into the box, and then there's a hesitation or some sort of brain fart, or I don't know what it is, but he doesn't know what the next play is. And at that point, he ends up taking the ball and either running out of bounds at the byline or just being marked right out. He doesn't know what comes next. And to be fair, not many on the Whitecaps last night seemed to know what came next anyway. Bulls in that final third, and especially within the opposing 18-yard box, were not great. But this has been an enduring issue with Savi.
yeah, it just takes too long with the ball. He can run into the box. He can find the spaces to create, but it just doesn't know what to do. Like when he has that final moment,
Yeah.
or looks very hesitant to shoot at times as well.
I have no doubt that he's a decent winger. I just don't know if he's the right winger for the Whitecaps and how they're wanting to play.
When Ryan Gauld comes back, or whenever that'll be, when Ali Ahmed comes back in 6 to 8 weeks, and when Jaden Nelson comes back from international duty, he's down in the pecking order.
Yeah. You know what? I will say I didn't mind the change at half. Laborda coming in, Ocampo being pushed forward, allows Vite to come back into the midfield. It's not the change that I expected, but I think it worked.
Ocampo, he scored the first Whitecaps goal, which is a nice one. Looked really poor defensively, though. But on the wing...
Because he always wants to play up, so just let him do it.
On the wing, he can play up as much as he wants, and he looked very lively, looked creative in the second half.
He's one of those guys. You can never doubt Ocampo's work ethic.
Yep.
The guy will run through walls even in games like this where it's not going well, but he doesn't necessarily. Yeah, it's not necessarily in the right manner that you want. The guy's got bounds of energy, and you never see him put in a lackluster shift. It's sometimes a misguided shift, but I thought he was better when you had the stability of a Laborda behind him.
Yeah. And Laborda also, he got the Whitecaps' second goal.
I think that's
Pedro Vite was a bright spot last night, even when he was on the wing. Great ball from him to Laborda, and tidy finish from Laborda.
I agree. Pedro Vite did have a quieter game, but it was a good game.
Yeah, on the wing, there's only he doesn't have that much freedom as he does in the midfield, but you could see him try to be so aggressive.
He's also not getting the ball early enough to be that dynamic and that creative force, right?
Yeah, but when he was pushed back,
he gets the ball on the wing, he's already pretty much online with the 18-yard box. He does his work better, deeper.
Yeah, I didn't mind the tactical change at halftime, but the defensive issues were still there. Like, Olowski got his fourth, and then the fifth one also, like, defense again was nowhere to be seen. Takolko was probably too aggressive on that one, and that pretty much wrapped up the game.
It's going to be interesting to see what goes on. We're still just under a month away before the summer transfer window opens up on the 24th of July for MLS. But you have to think that right now the Whitecaps are looking at defense, especially with Adekugbe out for the entire season.
I would think they'd have to look at that left back. Yeah, with Sam Adekugbe out for the entire season, and Johnson's still very green, as much as how good he's been this season to be a consistent starter.
For how young he is, he's almost being overplayed. right? He's
Yeah.
not being given that opportunity to learn. He's being thrown into the wolves.
I mean, last night was a learning experience for him and the team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you're a young guy, like as young as Johnson, games like that are bound to happen. And that was easily his worst game of the season.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm not too worried about it. He has shown that he can bounce back. He is very, very resilient, but it's not a game that he's going to want to remember it, but he's going to want to just remember it in terms of to study.
yeah, I mean, the team will go over the film this week in training. So, that's definitely a learning experience for everybody. Speaking of young guys, some WFC 2 players were on the bench. Antoine Copeland got a few minutes, and not in the best circumstances. It's a consolation, it's a moral victory, whatever you want to call it. He gets his first career goal.
It was nice to see. It was nice to see. I think he was surprised with it more than anyone else.
Yeah.
He's had a tough road in Vancouver. He was a guy that came in with a lot of positivity around him when he joined Whitecaps and started playing with Whitecaps too. He was definitely one for the future, but got sidelined by injuries and took him a long time to get back to playing form and to where he is and where he's affecting the second team right now. Credit to him for getting his first minutes and first goal. I mean, you can't ask for something better for the kid.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, and
it's the silver lining you can hold on to for a game like this.
Yeah, it's ironic to when I say like, oh, the Whitecaps needed to be better in attack because they scored 3 goals last night, and that usually would get them at least a draw. But it just that killer instinct, that finish wasn't there. And honestly, this game could have been a draw if they finished their chances, especially Tristan Blackman's header in the second half where he was all alone. You'd think he finished that, but
there was Rios had a missed header in the first half. You have Ranko Veselinovic off the corner that it was just a tap in. Rios was also at the far post on that one. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
And then there's one from Sabby in the first half, I believe, off his foot as well, just wide.
Yes, yeah.
And so there were sequences, especially in that first half, where they were passing the ball near the box. I was thinking, just shoot. Just at least test Dos Santos.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to say, right? You take a look at the goals that San Diego had, and they were very well executed, but they weren't high XG chances. I think at the time when they had 4 goals, they had less than 1.00 XG.
Yep.
Right, which is I think up until the 5th goal, the Whitecaps had a higher XG than San Diego.
Yes.
So it just tells you who's more clinical, much more clinical.
I mean, I like to think like, what if Blackman scored that header, because there was a lot of time left to make it even closer.
Well, we all know that what if Blackman scores headers gets us further in championships, right?
Yeah. And, well, just this, I mean, one team was more clinical, the other team wasn't, but the credit to the Whitecaps for, trying to get back into it, trying to claw their way back. But it wasn't enough, and just the story of this game is they shot themselves in the foot multiple times.
Yeah. One of the things I think that they're really, really missing is a player like Brian White. And I'm not talking about the goals that he scores. I'm talking about what he does off the ball. The press runs through him.
Yeah.
And when he is not available, it gives opposing defenders, opposing goalkeepers, all the time in the world on the ball. They can sit and do whatever they want. They can think. They can analyze the pitch. They can have a cup of tea. They can do whatever they want. San Diego gave Takioka 0 time on the ball. And Takioka he got caught out on a number of times with poor clearances, led to at least 2 of the goals. I mean, you can call that a bit of an indictment on the defense. You can talk about the coach on why were they harping on trying to continue to play out of the back when it wasn't working, and you can talk about the forward line of why weren't you doing the same, since that is the Whitecaps game plan from the beginning of the season.
I mean, I have no doubt Rios works hard and all that, but it's just when the ball goes to his feet near the end, the attack just dies. And
I see Rios so much more as a classic number 9. He's a poacher, right? He wants the ball where he just gets it off a single touch, and that's it.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, maybe you could have.
That's great
He
if
had
you're
one shot from
Ibrahimovic.
distance that was wide though.
Yeah,
in the first half.
Yeah, well, I guess so. What does this mean? It means the Whitecaps have dropped to second in the West.
Yep. Let's bring up the standings
now
here.
got a point above the Whitecaps. Whitecaps got a game in hand, so they still have that. But the Whitecaps have a very difficult schedule coming up. The next 6 MLS games are on the road.
Yeah, and there's one home game. That's Valor, the Canadian Championship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's the standings right now. San Diego overtakes them. Just a point behind with the game in hand. A point ahead of Minnesota United. And, yeah, let's take a look at the matches up ahead.
This is some, like, this is some weird scheduling. Like, it's I know, not great.
Yeah, BC Place has other events like Lions games, and I know the weekend is here. I think the 15th.
Well, the weekend comes every 5 days.
No, like the artist, the weekend.
It's a dad joke.
Oh, should have known. Oops, sorry. And yeah, LAFC this Sunday was supposed to be on the Saturday, but LAFC had the Club World Cup, and then they go back to LA on the 4th of July.
I honestly wonder if they're just going to stay in LA.
I'd rather just do that, just hang around.
Like, yeah, why waste the airplane gas?
Though, given recent events in LA, maybe that's not a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Valor.
On any other, yep. Did not think, I wasn't thinking about that.
Altitude, Colorado. By the way, Colorado had their game again delayed due to rain last night.
Yeah, they finally got it underway, but it was about 2 hours late.
Yep. Houston, which the Whitecaps haven't won there in like a decade.
Yeah.
And then
San Diego all over again.
The revenge match, hopefully, is 3 days after Houston.
It's kind of funny when you think about it that besides that Valor game, the Whitecaps are gone for over a month.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, the other thing we should mention, Olowski is the 3rd player this season that's gotten 4 goals.
Yeah.
Brian White being another one, and I believe it was Sullivan.
Yeah.
Was the other.
So, yeah, I mean, San Diego, their talent, a lot of credit to them. Their attack is dynamic, and Dreyer is the heartbeat of that team. Despite missing a bunch of guys, they had more guys missing than the Whitecaps due to injury and international duty, by the way. Dreyer really is the heartbeat of that team and one of the best in the league.
Absolutely. And where he was playing suited him. You would have put Vitae in the same position. It would have suited him better too.
Yeah. So, I mean, adversity hitting the Whitecaps. And Jesper Sorensen last night talked about it. Like, yeah, I mean, even we've been good this season. It's normal for any team to face adversity. But it's up to them onto how do they bounce back from it. And, I mean, the Whitecaps have dealt with a lot. Injuries, illness, call-ups, you name it.
You have to find ways to do it. I mean, I was using the same argument with say Tottenham's season last year, right? The same thing where you've got, injuries, that's a laundry list long. As a team, as a coach, with all the resources you have, you know what the schedule is. You know you're going to be dealing with injuries. Yes, it might be more than you expect, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. You still have to play those games regardless. You have to figure it out. So this is a test for Sorensen and his coaching staff. They're going to have to figure it out.
I always said this summer stretch will be the biggest test of the season,
Well,
and
sick
it's
away.
proven my point with Ali Ahmed out for 6 to 8 weeks due to his ankle injury at the Gold Cup
Yeah.
and the continued international call up. So, gotta make like the best out of a bad situation. The Whitecaps have dealt with this kind of stuff before this season. This is not new to them.
No.
So it's up to them to figure out how to get back up, and it's not going to be easier with this many road games in July.
No, not at all.
Um,
Anyway, yes, this Sunday, LAFC. Next, I believe games at 4:30 kickoff.
let me take. I might be. I think it might be a bit later than that. It is no. It's at 6:30 our time.
6:30. There we go.
Yeah. So LAFC are coming off a Club World Cup. They pretty much finished last in their group. Losses to Chelsea, Tunis, and a 1-1 draw to Flamingo. And of course, Danny Bouanga scored their only Club World Cup goal.
There you go.
And their last MLS game before the Club World Cup was a 3-1 win at home to SKC. So LAFC will be looking to get their MLS campaign back on track and make up for lost time. 7-5-4 record, 26 points, tied for fifth with San Jose and Seattle. We all know about these guys. Whitecaps have played these guys like 1,000 times over the past couple of years.
Yeah, pretty much. No other team we played more than them.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how good Danny Bouanga is because he just scores all the time against the Whitecaps. That's just the way it is. It's a canon event.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's going to... The last time these two teams met was in May. A wild, chaotic 2-2 draw at BC Place where the Whitecaps to come back from 2-0 down, and Brian White had 2 goals in that game. If the U.S. get knocked out by Costa Rica on Sunday, there's a chance Brian White and Sebastian Berhalter could return for that game.
They play on Saturday, I believe, the Americans, right? So
Saturday or Sunday.
I think it's Saturday, so technically they could make it. Also, I mean, White's not playing for the Americans. Berhalter is.
But Berhalter is. He got an assist.
Yeah, but White, stage. I mean, other than the friendlies leading up to the tournament, he really hasn't played.
Yeah, but if the U.S. still managed to beat Costa Rica, well, no Brian White this time to help out.
Yeah.
So regardless if Brian White and Sebastian Berhalter return, Whitecaps have to do the job down in LA against a very good side. That's, I think they're fired up after the experience against Chelsea, Flamengo, and Tunis in the Club World Cup, and looking to, prove that we dealt with that experience. We're going to be trying to once again prove why we're the big dogs in MLS.
Yeah, they'll be switching gears. They, I mean, other than whatever U.S. Open or Leagues Cup, whatever. I don't even know what they're participating in this year, but
I don't know either.
It's now that the Club World Cup is done. It's MLS or bust for them. So
they have Leagues Cup.
It's Leagues Cup they're in. Okay.
Yeah, and White. This is a tough stadium for any team, especially the Whitecaps, BMO Stadium in LA. Though they did win there not too long ago.
Yeah.
In MLS and Leagues Cup. So it's doable, and just basically this is a good chance to get back into good form after losing to San Diego, and one road loss all season for the Whitecaps, and that was the last game against Columbus. So
yeah,
tries to help get the road form back together and try to get out of the slump.
I mean, out of these 6 games, I'm trying to think of what would I want in terms of points. I'm thinking they could get 10 points out of these 6 games.
9 to 10 points, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so should we move over to the other Vancouver team, Vancouver Rise?
Yeah. So they didn't win this game.
But it was entertaining.
But it was entertaining, and there was a lot to be encouraged by because that was the best game the Rise have played in weeks.
I'll say it. Yeah, I 100% agree.
So that's one of the most exciting nil-nil games you'll ever see.
Yeah.
The the Rise, like defense has been an issue the past few weeks, but
Yeah.
they held the Roses to just one shot in the first half, and I think maybe just one or two in the second.
Which is really good when you think the previous two matches that they played the Roses. All of the goals from Montreal came in the first half. Three,
Yep.
I think, in the first one, two in the second.
Yep.
So to hold them only to a single shot on target, it speaks volumes to executing a game plan effectively.
Yeah, and that one shot on target in the first half, McCaslin had to make a really good save.
Yeah.
She leads NS the Northern Super League in saves. I think it's not even
She
close.
does. Yeah.
She faces a lot of chances.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I think they have the second most goals against, but she has the most saves by a significant margin. So it just tells you how busy not only the Rise goalkeeper is, but that defense as well. Because you also take a look at Shannon Wohler, who leads the league in touches and passes.
Yeah, I mean, she and the back line, a lot of credit to them.
Yeah.
Did a good job of nullifying the Roses from transitioning because that's what burned them the last two games. And for the Rise themselves, the press was active, transitions were deadly, but that final pass, final touch, still lacking. And the shots weren't that great, to be honest. Most of them were right at Karpenko, the Montreal
Really,
goalkeeper.
there was only the one chance, and it was Lisa Pechersky, I believe, off the
Yeah,
crossbar.
she off
Right?
the crossbar. I think it
Yeah.
went off the defender and then off the crossbar.
That or something. Yeah, it did take a deflection on the way, but it was enough that it lobbed over the goalkeeper, Karpenko, I believe, off the
And
crossbar. Really, that was the
we,
one chance.
you and I talked about like how much we love to watch Jasmine Spencer because
Yeah.
that further proved the case on Sunday at Swangard. She was everywhere with her speed, her long balls to Holly Ward and Mariah Lee. One of the best players on the pitch for the Rise. Her and Pechersky were
Yeah.
make strong
And
cases for women in the match.
I will say I've been critical of Wright, who plays as right back, even to the point where I think it was in a previous game they had moved Spencer over to right back and had tried Pechersky back at left back for about 45 minutes in a failed experiment. Wright had a better game.
Much better.
Not trying to rewrite the book, just trying to get back to basics. It was better. So I'm hoping to see more of that as well.
I mean, just overall, like every Rise player that stepped on the pitch did a really good job, but did everything right except score goals.
Well, not only that, but you can talk about this is the first match with Quinn playing the full. Well, I don't think they played the full match. I'm trying to remember. I think they came off.
They did not,
but they started the game, and they hadn't done that since before their injury back in Ontario. So it just goes to show once you control that midfield, how much better they are as a team.
Yeah, it goes to show how important Quinn is to this team.
Yeah.
And
still no word on Nikki Stanton, but
we saw her on crutches.
She's on crutches, so don't expect anything anytime
I don't
soon.
expect her to be back anytime soon.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, but a lot of I gotta give a shout out to Samantha Chang also for doing a good job carrying the ball into the box and starting the attack. And we all know, like, Holly Ward has been a revelation with not just with the Rise, but with Canada too, as she also gets a call
the
up
league in general, because this is a player that came from League One BC with the old the Whitecaps team there. Now the Rise
and the Burnaby
League One. Yeah, BC. And then you're not too sure what to expect. Can you make that jump up? And yeah, I think she's answered any critics that she had.
Yeah, and also played college footy with Texas, I believe, where they have weird rules where the clock stops.
Yeah, I did not realize that in what was the NCAA?
Yeah, and I don't know, like
I like it. Don't get me wrong, I like it, and I know it's something that's been talked about with IFAB and the rules of the game. But the one thing that surprised me is that they stopped the clock. but they still play
Yep.
90 minutes.
Yep.
Like, I can understand if you're going to stop the clock, but you have it at, say, 60. Because the amount of actual playing time in a typical football match is around like 56, 57 minutes. So the fact that they actually stop time and do a full 90 is pretty intense.
Yeah, but we talked to Anya Heiner Muller after the game against Montreal, and she pretty much said that she's proud of the team and pretty much liked a lot, and this is
Well, she
good to
said
build off.
this is who the Rise is.
Yeah,
Like this is them finally hitting their stride.
Yeah, because like we're in the second half of the NSL season, and teams are trying to figure out who they are, who their opponents are, and I guess that transition, like who we are phase, is starting to come to an end, especially for the Rise. And this game pretty much showed who they are as a team, how they want to play, and what they want to be. And this is good now that they have a break due to, unlike MLS, they actually stopped during international duty.
Funny thought.
Who would have thought that would have helped?
Yeah.
And got some time off, recharge, look at film, and hopefully they can come back stronger for the second half of the season.
Hopefully it doesn't break their stride,
Yeah, like this is a good game to build off of, even though they didn't win.
Absolutely.
All right, so Canada Gold Cup action over the weekend first. I'm not going to talk about this game too much because it was bad. A 1-1 draw against Curacao. First match against Curacao that wasn't a win, though Curacao pretty much deserved it with how
they did.
They burned Canada on transitions.
2 disallowed goals, I'm trying to think of.
Something like that.
Yeah. One of them absolutely offside. The first one, though, was very, very close.
Yeah, and other than Nathan Saliba scoring a goal in back-to-back games, it was just bad.
Yeah,
Canada.
It was. I'm glad they got it out of the way. I'm hoping that's the scare they needed to punch on. But yeah, playing against Curacao should have. It was funny because I said that Curacao was going to be a tricky opponent before this. I just didn't think that it was going to be tricky because Canada wasn't really going to show up.
Yeah, other than the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah, you're right. I really don't have much I need to talk about this game either.
Oh, well, we got a lot to talk about the game that happened against El Salvador, but it was barely even a football match. It felt like a street fight because El Salvador, their tactics were pretty much inspired by WWE Royal Rumble with all these hard tackles.
It was dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Like, you can have an aggressive, hard tackling match that's great to watch, but this was intent to injure. And I
Thank God nobody got injured on Canada
as a game plan, because first off, you're taking yourself out of the game. You're not going to advance. When El Salvador did have a chance, but they came into this game not wanting to win.
No, they just wanted
to injure.
They just wanted to do MMA impressions or whatever.
Yeah. I don't respect that.
No, I don't either.
I think it's embarrassing. I think it shows not only your program, but it shows your country in a very poor light.
Like what team wants a reputation of wanting to maim the other team because they know they can't win or whatever?
The funny thing is in the second half, they're down by 2 men at that point.
Yeah.
I thought they actually, when they got back to playing and all they could do was defend, they were half decent.
Maybe
they had nothing going forward. Obviously, they were massively overpowered in sheer numbers, but they were compact. They were structured, and for large parts of it, they were able to hold on without breaking. You got to wonder, what could you have done with 11 players if you decided to play like that from the beginning?
Maybe if they spent less time thinking they were WWE and actually played football, maybe it could have been a better game.
Yeah. Not much to say. The Reds were, justified. I don't know what the physio said, but one of the physios
said something.
Got a red card at the half as well, so he was not coming back. Let's talk about the goals. David's.
Yeah, I mean, he missed a penalty in the first half, which it really wasn't a good penalty.
No,
Let's
it
be
was not.
honest.
It was not.
But he made up for it in the second half with a tidy finish, and a lot of credit to Matthew Chouanier for this beautiful through ball.
Both the assists, the Sigur's assist on Tajon Buchanan's goal. I thought that's the killer ball you want. That's
Yeah,
the final pass you want. That's what the Rise was missing. That's what the Whitecaps were missing.
yeah. I mean, for Canada, they don't really have a natural 10, but those passes were both Sigur and Chouanier channeled their inner 10
Yeah,
with those passes.
yeah, I thought it was really good. I see Schwan. It's funny because he's not that much younger than Eustachio, but Chouanier fits that Eustachio role very well.
And speaking of Eustachio, it seems he'll join the camp now that Porto's out of the Club World Cup.
Yeah, he said he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean they played a bonkers game against I forgot who it was, but Al Hilal, I think.
Could be.
Let me just check because I was actually playing foot. Oh, Al Ali.
Okay.
I was actually playing football when that happened, so I couldn't watch that one. So, but yeah, good for Chouanier for stepping up with Canada. Like he played well against Honduras at BC Place, played well against El Salvador.
I mean, he's been okay heading into this tournament. He's not really a guy I've been noticing. I've noticed him now.
Like
I think
his
this is it feels like a bit of a this whole summer feels like a bit of a breakout moment for him in the
yeah,
national team.
from
He's
what
a
I've
guy
been
that is very, very difficult to take out of it now.
from what I'm reading, like he's not getting a lot of minutes at Grasshopper.
No.
Well, he better get in next season if they want to avoid playing in the relegation playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Not
Um,
especially in Switzerland. It's not a team you expect to be down there.
yeah, I mean his service too. He's mostly known for his defensive game, but his service is really good as well.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the assist on Jonathan David's goal. But that first half against El Salvador, Canada were just trying to survive and avoid getting killed.
Well, especially when you've already got injuries in the squad to Atakube and Ahmed, who are out
Had
for
to
the
be the
entire.
Whitecaps players, of course.
Yeah, of course, right? But they're out for the entire tournament. You want a game like this. You just want to get out unscathed.
Yeah, because El Salvador's I mean, if you want to call it defense and street fighter tactics, were making it hard for Canada to break them down. And once the first El Salvador guy got sent off, floodgates were starting to open. But it didn't take till the second half for Canada to really get into gear.
Yeah,
when they were down to 9, El Salvador was down to 9 rather.
Yeah,
and I mean this game was peak CONCACAF. Like you got the 2 reds plus the physio getting sent off, a missed penalty, most physical, dangerous tackles you'll ever see. Even the sky cam in the Houston Stadium fell thanks to the ball hitting it.
I literally thought the roof was falling at that point.
It looked like
I
it,
didn't
but
see what it was initially.
yeah, but they didn't mention it until after. Like, oh, that
Yeah.
was the sky camera from Fox or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah. This game had a little bit of everything. Half of what wasn't necessary.
Yeah, CONCACAF is just it's a federation that is something else, and that game was something else.
Yeah, it was.
And
But
by the way, speaking of penalties, they really got to work on penalties and who's taking them, because you never know in this tournament they might have to face a penalty shootout, and which is something Canada has struggled with in past tournaments.
yeah, it's very true.
Craig Forrest brought this up on Twitter
It's
and
true.
Blue Sky.
Fair enough. Canada does finish top of their group, so that helps. They go through along with Honduras, who won their final game.
Yep.
Canada is going to be facing Guatemala. That game will be on Sunday
From
1 o'clock
Minnesota,
our
Minneapolis.
time. Yeah. Guatemala,
They're a decent side. They actually beat Jamaica in their
they
group.
beat Jamaica. Well, that was it.
First
Jamaica
game.
was their very first game, and winning against Jamaica was essential. Lost against Panama, won against Guadeloupe. So full credit to Guatemala, who's not, decent side.
Yeah, and I think heading into the knockout, I think Canada needs to figure out what kind of team they are and really what they want to be. Because first they destroy Honduras, then they struggle against Curacao, and then they go on scathe against El Salvador after El Salvador goes down to 9 men. Like, show what they really want to be. Like, who is the Canada that they want to show the world next year?
The way I see
Like,
it is Canada gets knocked off when Canada gets knocked off their game plan, they're not able to adapt in the moment as easily, right? So
yeah,
when you're coming up against a team like El Salvador or Curacao, who they know what they are, and they know that they need to be disruptors. Canada doesn't necessarily deal with that well in the moment. And it's kind of funny to say it, but at some point, Canada sometimes needs more guys like Richie Larea, right? You
yep,
need guys that can punch down.
yeah. This is a team that we know for the knockout stage needs to show cohesion. Not and like they need to look at this kind of like what they did against El Salvador. Look at the physical stuff and just go through it. But they really
Canada
need
wants to
to.
play for the beauty of the game. It needs to look nice and crisp. That's not CONCACAF,
No, they
right?
need to adapt to the
Yeah,
moment
they do.
and figure out what kind of team they want to be.
And
Because
you're going to have to do it fairly well or fairly quickly. Guadeloupe, not an easy
Guatemala,
test.
yep,
Or, sorry, thank you, Guatemala.
that's not easy.
Likelihood they should advance. And if they advance, the likely opponent is going to be the United States.
Yeah,
Let's not write it off right now. Things can definitely surprise us. That seems to be what the trajectory is going to be, though.
yeah. USA, as I mentioned earlier, will face Costa Rica pretty much
Yeah,
on the
which is
same weekend.
not an easy match.
Yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see what kind of lineup um, Jesse Marsh puts out there for Guatemala because he's done a lot of rotating in the group stage. And now I think that's time for that is over. It's time to
You're in the
put your
knockout
best lineup
stage.
forward.
This is your test for World Cup next year.
Yep.
We need to know who your starting 11 is.
Be interesting who plays in goal. I mean, St. Clair had a busy-ish first two games. Max Kerpo barely
Was
did anything
pylon.
against
He
El
didn't do
Salvador.
anything. I don't think he made a single save because he didn't have
No, he
to.
did not. He might as well just took in a chair out, grabbed some tea and his phone because he really wasn't worked.
There are certain players that are guaranteed locks in their respective positions. Alistair Johnson.
Yep.
I would say Derek Cornelius
Yes. Richie Larea on the left side
right now.
right now. Not for next
Alfonso
year.
Davies comes back. It's Alfonso Davies.
Yeah.
Up top,
Jonathan David.
Jonathan David and dare I say, Promise David.
Yeah, my Promise had that one chance in the first half against El Salvador, which
I think it's still Kyle Laren's to lose, but I think things might change over the year.
Yeah, but I think for next game also against Guatemala, I'd start Promise, given his physical and like size and strength and all that. I think the Davids work well together.
Chouanier in the midfield.
Yeah.
I don't know if any it's going to be. I think there's players that can fit there. I don't know if anyone's necessarily a lock right now.
Yeah.
I liked Saliba. I liked Segura when he was put there. I think Segura also does very, very well on the right. And if it wasn't for Alistair Johnson, he would definitely be a guy that you would think.
I'd start Saliba.
Yeah.
Given those two did well against Honduras, and Chouanier can do most of the defensive work, while Saliba.
Buchanan is a starter on the wing.
Yeah, but do you start Schaffelberg or Nelson? Nelson's more rested. Schaffelberg. I think I wanted to see more from Schaffelberg in this tournament. Like
I was going to say the same about Nelson. I have not noticed Nelson at all.
Both have the speed, but they're not doing much outside of that.
Yeah. The other thing is I would say is that when it comes time for World Cup is you're going to have to throw Liam Miller back in the mix.
Yeah, and he's still dealing with his injury.
Yeah.
he'd be here at the Gold Cup if
I mean,
it
the one
wasn't for
thing
that.
that's really neat with Canada is the amount of depth they have at every position now. That's not something we were ever able to say before.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, this Sunday, 1 o'clock, Canada versus Guatemala. It's a single round, so one game and done. Guatemala.
Canada hopefully should get by Guatemala, but I don't think it's going to be easy because in CONCACAF it's usually never easy. And I hope we can get to see Guatemala play some actual football instead of thinking they're in WWE.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But this is CONCACAF. That usually is never the case.
Yeah, that's
all right.
true.
Chelsea across the pond. It still feels weird to talk about games this time of year, but I'll just breeze through it. Club World Cup. I'm not going to talk about this first game too much. 3-1 loss to Brazilian side Flamengo, and their social media account just roasted Chelsea after the game to oblivion, which was kind of deserved. Felt full credit to them. I'm not too upset about it. Pedro Neto again scores the first Chelsea goal, but then after that was just kind of a disaster. Bad defending, bad goalkeeping from Robert Sanchez. 3-1 loss in Philadelphia to Flamengo, to their credit are a very good side in Brazil. And it was like after the first goal, Chelsea kind of just stopped playing in a way. And then Nicholas Jackson at the end in the 66th minute, just a clumsy challenge, like pretty much steps on the guy. Sent off. He's banned 2 games in the Club World Cup, and for his red card in the Premier League, he's going to miss the first Premier League game of the season as well. So,
jeez,
it's just not been good for Jackson like since November. Missing chances, red cards, injuries. Stocks are low on the guy.
right.
Now there's rumors that Juventus are interested in buying him, but Chelsea want 40 to 50 million, and I don't know if he's even worth that much at this rate.
Well, there's rumors of Jonathan David in Juventus right now, but apparently that's being held up by agent fees.
Yeah, and obviously David's focused on Gold Cup.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, if Chelsea can get a good fee on Jackson, cash in and get a better striker, whether that's Itakike, Jokeris, Osimhen, or somebody else. So,
He's been high up in Osman for a while.
I still want the guy like a lot, but it's very unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
So, but if not, let Jackson and Delap compete for starting striker this season. But Chelsea made up for it with a 3-0 win over Tunisian side, Tunis. Pretty much a dominant performance, and right before half, it was 2 goals. Tosin, the uncle of the team, gets the first goal with a header from the corner kick. I mean, this guy, past season, with headers from corners and set pieces, especially in the second half, he's done well. And Tosin has really improved over the past few months. He's really grown into his role and shown he's a leader on the team. Hey, that's what happens when you sign guys over 25. You never know what you can get. And Tosin didn't cost him a penny from Fulham. And then a few minutes later, Liam Delap gets his first. No, not even a few minutes later, like in stoppage time. Liam Delap's first Chelsea goal. Beautiful pass from Enzo Fernandez. This is a Chelsea striker goal. This is what they've been lacking. His first touch is great. He gets around one defender, uses his strength to get around another, beats the goalkeeper. Shades of Diego Costa, shades of Didier Drogba. I know it's Tunis. It's early. But
throwing names like Drogba around, that's some weighty comparisons.
That is what Chelsea needs, and that is why they signed Liam Delap. And hopefully we see more of that when the actual season begins, because he could potentially be that guy. Like, the guy bullies defenders. We saw that in the Club World Cup already. And then the third goal. Good on, I think he's 18 now, Tyreek George, for getting a goal too. An assist from Andre Santos off the bench, who, by the way, balled out Strasbourg, was captain while on loan, which really tells you something about his talent. This guy, watch out for this guy, because he should be getting regular minutes. in the midfield, and he's a rising talent. And then speaking of youth players, Josh Anchipong off the bench also won all his duels at right back. And I don't think this guy needs to go out on loan. He needs to stay and play in the right back as depth behind Reece James. And he's look much more suited for Maresca's system than Malo Gusto at this rate. So he needs to stay and, be a depth guy. He's like 19 years old and also has potential. So Cobham and the Brazilian youth pipeline come through at the Club World Cup. Other than that, not much in terms of transfer rumors other than Jamie Gittins, as David Ornstein reported a couple of days ago that a deal is close. And Gittins has already agreed to personal terms, apparently, for a 7-year contract because, of course.
It's Chelsea.
And Dortmund still want the £55 million. Chelsea are a little hesitant, but they want to get the deal done. Player's very keen. Chelsea want him. Bayern were in for Gittins too, but they don't want to pay the $55 million. So It looks very inevitable unless something really bad happens over the next few weeks. And I don't think Gittins will have a problem with his wages to fit the wage structure anyway. So It's just a matter of fee and a matter of time. And as I said last week, 20-year-old kid, but he fits the system like a glove. So, and he's a regular starter at Dortmund, so it's not like he's green. Well, he is, but it's not like he's a guy that's just being up and down in the lineup. So other than that, Chelsea play Benfica in the round of 16 thanks to them beating Bayern Munich out of all teams and winning their group. So, there's a pathway to the final because they'd face one of the Brazilian teams if they go through.
Teams have been great in this tournament, though.
Yeah, they've done great, but hopefully Chelsea beat Benfica. Like, they've only played once in the past that I can think of. That was the 2013 Europa League final. Enzo Fernandez against his old team. So, Saturday, 1 p.m. our time from Charlotte. So Tottenham, Paratici bans end soon and made a national signing from Japan.
Yeah, so for some reason I thought that the ban was already over. It's actually over next month. Too. So that's probably why it's just no signatures happen, even though it's done. So still waiting on that. But yeah, you're right. Tottenham did make a signing. 20-year-old center back Kota Taki from Kawasaki Frontale.
That's a good team.
£5 million from the J League. This is a player that is expected to be on the first team. So he is going
if he's
to be
that good, then
yeah, he's expected to be a part of the first team right away. I wanted them to make center back signings. Danzo was, carried through. They've now brought in Kota. I don't know a lot about him. Obviously, my knowledge of the J League is minimal. It is an exciting league. It's a vast.
And I'm looking here.
Japanese
Kawasaki finished 5th.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what he can bring. It'd be interesting. Other than that, rumor mills. It's just waiting.
Easy though. I think that might actually have traction.
Well, Tottenham's been attached to him for 2 years? It looks like it could actually happen. He has expressed interest in now finally leaving Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace winning the FA Cup and getting to play in Europe might be something, but Tottenham is in Champions League. That's one step higher.
Change too.
Yeah, it's just a matter of waiting to see. Other than that, the other big piece that Tottenham's looking for is that strength in the number 6. So one of the names that's popped up is 31-year-old Christian Norgard, Brentford captain, understands playing for Thomas Frank. It could be a possible move. The one thing is Bentancur and Bissouma only have 1 year left on their respective contracts, and they could fit that role. They're not perfect for it. The funny thing is the one player that was on Spurs that would have been perfect and fits this role very similar was Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
Yep.
But because of the loan requirement already of sending him to Marseille on a permanent after the loan was done, he was already gone. Højbjerg also had played under Frank for the Danish teams,
Yes.
as in during the youth setup. So I mean, there was knowledge of the player there as well. Unfortunately, he's already gone with his new team, so that's not the case. Angel Gomez is still a target. He is a guy
They've
that
been linked to him forever.
I know, and I mean he's on a free, so it's just a matter of getting done. They have also said they're not necessarily done at center back. They are willing to fight for Mark Guay.
It looks like Liverpool are really pushing for him now.
Newcastle is as well.
And I still I don't know why Chelsea aren't, because I want him back.
This is a player that Tottenham has stated they're willing to fight for. If they can't get him, the other one they're looking at is Fikayo Tomori with AC Milan.
Chelsea Academy product.
Former Chelsea Academy product. I think his contract with AC Milan is done.
Or it might have a year left.
Anyway, he's another one that is a possibility as well. But again, no Paratici, no movement.
I mean, next month is in 4 or 5 days, and July is when we'll really see things happening for transfers for any league. So I guess that's Chelsea and Tottenham, but this is a bizarre and big news. One of the biggest clubs in France, Olympique Lyon, has been relegated to Ligue 2 over financial uncertainty, but they plan to appeal, reports Fabrizio Romano.
So this has been an ongoing thing. They were actually provisionally relegated back in November because they posted 175 million euro debt and had no clear plan on what to do to reduce it. Now, Lyon is owned by John Textor, American billionaire businessman. Isn't he the guy that's also was part with Crystal Palace?
He might be. Let me
Is he the guy that had to sell his stake in Crystal Palace so they could both move on? I can't remember.
Yeah, I thought the same guy.
But they've now said now this relegation's gone through because apparently these debts are now around 400 and something million.
Yeah.
Now Leona said, well, we came up with a plan on how to deal with it, and we can't understand why it was never taken. Well, you more than doubled your debt in 6 months. Yep. So you have no plan. On top of it, you're signing players like Matt Taylor, which you got to wonder, they've signed just 3 players in the offseason. You got to wonder if there's relegation clauses in these.
Yeah. Just sold Ryan Cherky to Man City too for not much.
Yeah. So this is and this club also had a transfer ban in January because of financial insecurities, right?
Yep.
So the club has criticized it, saying that they had worked closely with the governing body, satisfied all their requests. They've called the decision incomprehensible. I don't know. I find their criticism incomprehensible. But this is Lyon. Like,
yeah,
they're what, a 6 or 7 time winning Ligue 1 side.
One of the best clubs in.
Yeah.
Oh, they haven't won Ligue 1 in years, but still a big club.
So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. This battle is not done. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, their debts right now, at least in American currency, is almost 600 million.
Jeez.
So they may have a plan, but their plan's not working because it's going in the other direction, and it's going in the other direction very fast.
Let's see if this appeal actually goes anywhere.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
One final thing here. Turkish footballing corruption has been uncovered by, apparently, Jose Mourinho.
So Mourinho is no stranger to controversy. No stranger.
He's always an entertaining guy
and stirring the pot, and he did so with Turkish football throughout this past season. But he actually has taken to task the chairman of the Turkish Football Federation's disciplinary board, Salal Nuri.
He's resigned.
I
can't pronounce his name either.
Yeah.
After a leaked WhatsApp message which targeted Mourinho and Fenerbahce.
And not only that, but this guy has been found wearing Galatasaray shirts, cheering with the team, WhatsApp messages, going after not only Mourinho, but Fenerbahce in general. Now, from the sounds of it, I mean, no one's surprised in Turkish football. Like they basically
There's
flirt
something
with
else.
the idea of match fixing on a daily basis. But as far as I know, this guy has now been let go, and it looks like more heads are about to roll. So it's really interesting that I don't know how Fenerbahce got these WhatsApp messages, but
Or
yeah,
how
Turkish
Mourinho got
football
them.
is in a
Yeah.
bit of a free fall right now.
Yeah. Turkish football is, a lot of controversy over the past year or two
Yeah.
and everything. So this is crazy, but Jose Mourinho, he's no stranger to crazy stories.
I think he revels in it. I think he was right where he wants to be, right in the middle of it.
Yeah, and now I'm reading that he wants Jadon Sancho at Fenerbahce. I don't know how that will work.
Why not?
So that'll conclude this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Podcast at Terminal City FC on Twitter, Blue Sky, and YouTube and Instagram. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, Nathan at Enduric. Check out all our articles for Area 51 Sports Network covering Whitecaps, Canada, and whatever footy we can think of, including Vancouver Rise. Whitecaps in action on Sunday. 4 All-Stars, Takaoka, Berhalter, White, and Blackman, which is the most of any MLS team.
Yeah.
And Canada, hopefully they can progress through the Gold Cup against Guatemala. And yeah, more obviously silly season still underway. Rumors not just in Europe, but the Whitecaps. And a certain Twitter account has been saying that the Whitecaps are cooking up something big. Who knows what that'll be? So we'll cover any moves the Whitecaps make in the summer window. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.